The Hebrew word chesed is translated many ways. One way is loving kindness. Doing an act of chesed means helping someone out or empathizing with them in an act of generosity. Chesed also means mercy, in contrast to being judgmental. Rather than see someone in the worst light, we understand their circumstances and give them a break. A third definition of chesed is devotion. Loving kindness and mercy are aspects of being devoted to God. This is from where the name Hasidim, or the Hasidim, is derived. The idea is to go above and beyond in devotion and love, to be especially devout. Chesed often gets paired with another Hebrew word, emet. Emet is a simpler word to define, if not to follow, which is truth. Taken together, the word pair, chesed ve'emet, loving kindness and truth, form an expression. Do me a true kindness. It's stronger than do me a favor. It has the force of, I know it's probably difficult or inconvenient. I may not deserve it, but please do me a true kindness. Chesed ve'emet. This expression is used by Jacob, Yaakov, in this week's Torah portion, Vayechi. To set the scene, we are at the very end of the book of Genesis. Jacob has been reunited with his long-lost son, Joseph, and the family has moved to Egypt to escape a famine. Joseph has been presumed dead, but now the family is back together, having apparently put aside their old grievances. However, Jacob then approaches Joseph, his son, and says to him, and I'm paraphrasing, do me an act of chesed ve'emet, true kindness. Pledge to me that you will not bury me in Egypt. Please take me back home to the land of Canaan and bury me with my parents and grandparents in the family plot in the cave of Machpelah. Joseph swears to do so. From here, the rabbis derive that when we bury the dead, it is an act of chesed ve'emet, a truly good act that cannot be repaid. The dead cannot thank you or do anything for you in return for helping to bury them. This is the reasoning behind the ritual that everyone who wants to may participate in the burial and put a shovel of earth into a grave at a Jewish funeral. In the original story in the Torah, however, the degree of chesed ve'emet is even more profound. You see, Jacob is asking this of his son Joseph. Just bear with me. Joseph's mother was Rachel. Now, Rachel died on the road near Bethlehem, and Jacob did not carry her body back to the cave of Machpelah to be buried with the rest of the family in the family plot. So Jacob is asking Joseph to do something for him over a much greater distance than Jacob did, and Jacob didn't do it for Joseph's mother. Are you with me? Okay, he's saying in effect, please treat me better than I treated your mother. Boy, this guy, right? Why did Jacob not bury Rachel in the family tomb? Well, the rabbis all have different reasons. And if the rabbis all have different reasons, what does that mean? That means they don't know, right? I mean, if everybody's got to come up with their own reason, that means no one reason is quite satisfactory, right? So Radak, 12th century France, said Jacob was overburdened with cattle, moving slowly, and it was the heat of summer. He had to bury her right away for her own dignity. Chizkuni, 13th century France, said Jacob couldn't go back there because at the time Esau controlled that territory and Jacob had not yet reconciled with him. Sforno, 14th century Italy, says Jacob was too weak with grief. Now Nachmanides, 14th century Spain, however, is having none of it and claims that they all sound like excuses and defensive apologetics. Nachmanides claims that it was only a half-day journey from Bethlehem to the family plot. He could have done it, Instead, Jacob was embarrassed. He had 2 wives who were sisters, which is against Torah law, and he didn't want to be ashamed in front of his descendants, so he buried them apart. Now, Rashi, 10th century France, admits that Jacob could have made the journey, but he sees yet another reason. He puts words to Joseph in Jacob's mouth. I trouble you to take me for burial to the land of Canaan, even though I did not do so for your mother, which I might have done over admittedly a short distance. I know that in your heart you feel some resentment toward me. But no, I did so only at the command of God. According to Rashi, God commanded Jacob to bury Rachel there by the road to make that a holy spot. In the future, Rachel's spirit would rise from her grave and watch over the exiles as they left Israel for Babylonia on that same road. Later, during the time of the Babylonian exile, Jeremiah says, a voice is heard in Ramah, the sound of weeping. Rachel is weeping for her children, and that's there. Her tomb is on the road to Babylonia, and so that's why she needed to be buried there. Now, whether you like any of these reasons or none of them, we now get a clearer understanding of what Jacob is asking his son Joseph. Even though I didn't carry your mother back to the family plot, please bring me back to the land of Israel over a much greater distance and bury me there. Please do me this act of true kindness, chesed ve'emet, even if I don't necessarily deserve it. And aren't similar demands often made of us? Do we not often bury family members with whom we've had a troubled relationship and give them the honor that we don't necessarily feel they deserve? And even in life, don't we sometimes take care of people or provide for people or show them respect, even if we don't feel it? And don't we do this because we want to do what is right before the eyes of God and not repay bad with more bad? Families and relationships can be tough, but we strive to be decent people anyway. And if we can dig deep down, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, we can also empathize with what others have been through. We can forgive them for their shortcomings. We can realize that there are reasons they got that way. And we can act above and beyond with true kindness anyway. Chesed ve'emet. Shabbat shalom.